welcome to our program on immigration and legal affairs. I am your immigration attorney, Michael PHULWANI, and once again, we have with us attorney David NACHMAN. David, welcome.
Thank you so much, Michael. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Now, in our today's program, we're going to start with cutoff dates for the month of August 2012. The family preference categories for the first preference, which are the unmarried sons and daughters over the age of 21 of US citizens, advances by 3 weeks to August 1st, 2005. The family 2A category, which is for the spouses and children under the age of 21 of green card holders, advances by 4 weeks to March 15, 2010. The family 2B category, which are the unmarried sons and daughters over the age of 21 of green card holders, advances by 7 weeks to June 22nd, 2004. This is like a little good news here.
That's pretty good news.
Pretty good
7
news.
weeks, yeah.
Yes. And the family third preference, which are the married sons and daughters of US citizens, advances for all the countries by 2 weeks to May 1st, 2002. And the family fourth preference, which are the brothers and sisters of US citizens, advanced by 3 weeks to February 15, 2001. So we see a good news in a couple of categories and the slow movement in some others.
Exactly.
Now, in the employment preference categories, the first preference, which is current for all the countries, including India. But going forward, I think, David, it may get a cutoff date maybe in the coming months, as we both know.
There's a possibility. There was
Yes.
some, Charlie Oppenheimer made allusions to it, although, you know, you have to remember the politics of it are that they want to continue to take advantage of the worldwide brain drain and admit these people to the United States.
Okay, let's continue.
Yep.
The family second preference, which are for the advanced degree holders for most of the countries except India and some other countries, there is no movement and the date remains the same.
Right.
January 1st, 2009. Unfortunately for India, the family 2A category still remains completely unavailable, and we expect that to remain unavailable until September.
Right, you mean employment?
Employment,
Yeah.
sure. Until September of 2012.
Right.
In October, we have a new
The new beginning of the new fiscal year might open it up.
We don't know when they
Exactly.
open up or what that will be, but we're going to let you know when
We'll
the time
see.
comes.
Yeah.
And the employment third preference, which are the professionals and skilled workers, and I believe a lot of our viewers under this category, because this is for bachelor people and also for the skilled workers, advances by 6 weeks for most of the countries except India to September 8, 2006.
Right.
For India, unfortunately, advances only by 1 week to October 1st, 2002. We'll come back to this in a minute. Let me just go ahead and we'll talk a little more about the EB3 category.
Yeah.
The other worker categories also advances by 6 weeks for most of the countries except India to September 8, 2006. And India, it advances also only by 1 week to October 1st, 2002.
Right.
The fourth preference, special immigrants, which include religious workers, priests, and all that, is current for all the countries. And the employment fifth preference, which is for the investors of $1 million or $500,000 in regional centers, remains current for all the countries. Let's go back for a minute on the employment third preference category for India. Listen, October 1, 2002, we are in 2012. You're looking at 10 years already, and probably if that moves with that speed, 1 week a month, or even 2 weeks a month, my God, if somebody applies now, and if there is no change in the law or anything, the person may be 15 years or more. What's the point?
That's right.
What's the point of staying in a line? But there may be a good news here, and we both can talk about that. And basically what we want to talk about, that there was I believe a bill that was introduced in the House by I think Republican member of the House, Sheffiz, I think.
Right.
And that bill said that we can increase the cap on the per country limit from 7% to the 15%.
Right.
And good news is that with whatever some changes, November 29, 2011, they passed in the House, and I think that was probably without completely eliminating the cap of the House country. Now that was an excellent thing, and we all thought, so House has passed, Senate probably everybody will support, they are going to pass also, and that will become the change, a big change, and you can explain to the public what that big change will be, what will be the, so that again, I mean basically, unfortunately, they killed the bill and they did not pass at that time, and they kept it pending.
Right.
Now again, right now in December 15, 2011, they made some amendment and changes, and which also included elimination of the lottery program and some changes in the H-1B restrictions.
Right. Well, that was the big problem, is that what they wanted to do is they wanted to use as a quid pro quo the numbers in the diversity lottery program, which might not be a big deal, at least to Indian nationals, because they can't take advantage of the diversity lottery program. But for people in the rest of the world, that's a very big opportunity for them.
So this is now coming back again, as we both know that. Some of the senators' House has already passed. They can pass it now, before this end of this session of the Congress. They can pass it, but looks like.
Well, is it politically correct to do in an election year? Is really the big question.
And not correct, but this is feasible. The point here is that with what is going on in the Congress, if Republicans and Democrats, both parties are a standstill, they are not in a compromising mode. It looks like, and if they are not going to compromise, how many bills do you think are pending in the House or the Senate that have been blocked? Tremendous amount.
Too many.
Very little movement at all in any legislation.
That's right. Well, especially on immigration laws during an election year, it's very
but
difficult.
assuming that this gets passed, if not in this session of the Congress, I think it will happen. In my opinion, the opposition is little. This fight of not compromising will disappear after the elections.
It's possible.
And there will be some compromise on something that is very, very reasonable. And if that happens, and you can explain to the people what will be the consequences, and I think we'll have to take a small break, and right after the break we can continue further discussion on this point. And this bill is passed by the Senate and the Congress. What will you change? What will you see in the cutoff dates? So stay tuned, we will be back. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were discussing about this bill that is pending in the Congress that will remove the per country limits. And I told you that, the viewers, that after the break, we're going to have David explain to you that if this bill gets passed, whether this session of the Congress or the next year, 2013, David, what will, let's say when the bill is passed, how would you be looking at this visa bulletin? Would there be a big change, you think? There will be a big difference? Will be the dates will advance much speedier, or what?
Well, I think that what you'll start to see, it's funny, Michael, because I had a dream last night, and in this dream I had a magic wand, and what I did was I took my magic wand and I waved it over the visa bulletin, and all of a sudden everything said C for current. And that means that all of a sudden everyone whose I-140s or I-130s are approved, the priority dates
David, God
are
bless
current.
you. God bless you. Sugar and honey in your mouth, as we say in India. But God bless you. I hope your dream comes true.
I hope it does too. But Michael, I think that that's what the visa bulletin is going to look like.
Correct.
In the event that a bill like this passes, we are hoping that the advancements, everything becomes current, and then everyone can apply immediately. The likelihood, however, of that happening, especially in an election year, is very, very slim. In fact, I would even go so far as to say slim to none. There is a possibility that, as Michael mentioned before the break, that this bill may come back on the front burner in a different form after the election. But at this point in time, because it would be such an incredible thing, I don't think it's going to happen before November.
But I'm saying your dream is excellent. But even if
I like my dream too.
Yes,
it's a good dream.
Even if that doesn't become current, all the categories, there'll be definitely substantial advance movement.
Exactly.
So what we said earlier before the break, that the employment third preference people may have to wait for 17 years, 15 years, maybe more, that will change, definitely.
That's
That will
definitely,
change.
it's definitely our
If
hope.
it is not current, maybe the waiting time may be much, much, much less than what will happen if they don't pass the law.
Exactly. Michael, as we're talking about the visa bulletin, I think that there are two important issues that we should raise for our viewers. One is that, and many of you are aware of this, is that we have two categories that are going to be potentially sunsetting at the end of September. One of them is the investor visa classification. There's a lot of discussion about the sunset, and there's also the potential for a sunset of the EB4 classification. So at this point in time, Michael, you and I on the way to the studio today were talking about the sunset, and we both, I think, agreed that because it's something that since 1990 has continued, and they continue to pass it. You had indicated to me that obviously the political clout of religious organizations, I think that any religious classification is, it's doing the right thing to make the religious classification continue. And I think that also in light of the present priorities of our government to try to institute additional jobs and foreign investment, we also feel that the EB5 classification will not sunset and that it will continue. However, it's really anyone's guess because it has to come up for a vote before Congress. And what happened, I believe it was a couple of years ago when it came up for whether or not it was going to be extended.
What a shaky situation at that time.
Well, it got tacked on to another bill.
Yes.
And then oftentimes what happens is if they tack it on to a bill which really shouldn't be passed, then it becomes a question of whether or not it's going to go through.
David,
so it's very tricky.
As we all know, that our Congress, the laws that are made are very highly influenced by lobbies.
That's
and for
right.
both these categories, there's a big religious, religious doesn't mean one religion. Christianity, whether it's Jewish, whether it is Indian, Hindus or Muslim, whatever.
Right.
All the religious organizations want this.
That's
and
right.
it's a big, strong feeling also. A lot of senators, congressmen, when they are looking for a vote, they don't want to annoy, they don't want to lose millions of votes from any of the religious organizations.
Right.
So I have seen since 90, as you said, last so many years we have seen that every time that they extend it further and further. Same
Right.
thing on the EB5. Jobs.
Right.
Everybody talks about jobs.
Well, let me give you the flip side of the religious worker classification. And there was a study, as you know, that was done a couple of, it was probably a good 6-8 months ago, where they came out with some statistics that said that almost 30% of the religious worker classifications were deemed to be fraudulent, which is why they instituted these site visits and require site visits for all of these EB4 cases, and also for the non-immigrant religious worker cases.
Later in the next program, I think we're talking about different categories when we talk about religious
Exactly, and
workers
we can address that. But
I
that's the
think-
countervailing argument as to why this should not be extended.
But vote. The senators, congressmen,
course.
everybody wants to make religious organizations happy.
That's
So
right.
they'll be very reluctant to take that position that they don't want the religious workers or the priests be easily come to United States to teach or preach or work in their religious occupations.
Right, but again, the flip side of that is that the congressmen also don't want fraudulent cases to go
Exactly,
through.
but I think
And
by the change that they have done in the law, it has
Yeah, I think now
substantially
they've made
reduced.
some self-corrections. I
Because you had to
agree.
first,
Yeah.
there was no petition filing before. Now you
Right.
have to file the petition with Immigration Service. Immigration Service will not approve the R1 petition
Right.
unless they go to the temple, go to the church, go to the mosque,
That's
talk
right.
to them, look at their
Do a
record
site
to
visit.
be satisfied.
Correct. That's right.
So the old time fraud was, you know what, a small church in a house filed 400 applications for the R1. 400 people cannot even stand there.
Right.
So it was a heavy duty fraud. You are saying 30%? I say probably at that time there were more than 30%.
Yeah, I
But
think it was higher. Yeah, I think it was higher.
They did a very
Yeah.
wise, smart
Yeah.
thing. They passed this law.
Right.
They changed the whole processing. Right now, it is very little fraud, if any, because
Well,
immigration will never approve the petition.
My guess is that probably what we're going to see is by October, maybe September, October, just about before the time that it has to be implemented, we're going to see new research done by the Congressional Research Service and by the Office of Management and Budget, and what they're going to do is, or the Government Accountability Office, and they're going to issue new numbers to determine whether or not the fraud is that high or whether it's come down substantially. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, both of us do feel that both these categories are most likely
To be
going
re-implemented,
extended for
exactly.
further periods of
If
time.
everything is the way it was before, it should continue, absolutely. Let's talk about Dreamers, Michael. One of the things
And
that...
just some small thing
Oh, I'm
let's talk
sorry.
now,
Yeah.
then we can do this after the break. A very quick question, because we probably have a couple of minutes to
Sure.
take a break. Vote. People ask us, Obama versus Romney. Of course, we cannot take the sides. I mean, everybody uses your own conscience. You make your own decisions who you want. On the issues side, I think that most people who are concerned with the immigration issues, I think that they are more likely to vote for Democrats and Obama as against those who are anti-immigrant groups. But it's not just on the basis of immigration only. A lot of people think differently. It's only one issue. The question about jobs, question about economy, question about many other issues.
Right.
So our voters have to take into consideration all the factors, all the facts, and independently make a decision as to whatever you think is right for to vote. Please vote. Vote is very important.
Right, and that's a good point. That's a great point that Michael's making, and it gives me an opportunity to say to you, it's not too late. If you qualify for naturalization and you file in certain states, you may be able to get naturalization before the election. And that would be a great opportunity for you to have your voice heard here in the United States about who should be the next president.
Yeah, that's very good. But again, as I keep on saying, vote, 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 please vote. Because that's your constitutional right. If you are a citizen, register and must vote. And whoever you vote, that's up to you. It's purely your decision, nobody else's recommendation.
And this is a good time for us, I think, to take a break, Michael, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk about some of the new Dreamer information.
So stay tuned, we will be back. Welcome back. Just before the break, we mentioned that after the break, we're going to talk something about the Dreamers. And let me say a few words about the policy that President Obama announced about the Dreamers, and some questions coming from the public, the viewers, that this new policy memorandum only grants a deferred action. Is in a way is for 2 years, and the students that will qualify will talk about that also, what are the requirements and what people should be doing about documentation and other things. But the question here that was raised, what will happen after that? Are these people going to get green card? Will they become citizens? What is the future? I just want to say a few words that we just saw, David and me, a memorandum that has been presented by a quite a large number of congressmen to President Obama, thanking him very much for this new policy and pledging their help, assuring the president that they will do their best, whatever help is needed from them, to get the DREAM Act passed in the Congress, which is a very good news. And we already knew that there's going to be a lot of support, especially from the Democrat members of the House. So you want to make some comments on that? I'm very happy. I'm very happy that so many, you have in your hand a memorandum which signed by many of the congressmen appealing.
Right. Well, this
You have to put the screen
memorandum,
that the people can
yeah. Well, this memorandum, Michael, is from many congressmen, many members of the House of Representatives to President Obama. And probably the key point that's made in this memorandum is that they're saying that this does not diminish the need for the president to take appropriate steps to implement comprehensive immigration reform. So what it is it's basically the representatives who felt strongly about this initiative were commending the president for taking the initiative to recognize this administrative need, but also to say that there is still work that needs to be done. And I think that's probably the most important part.
While they are fully behind supporting the president and the Congress to pass the bill, in the interim,
Right.
This kind of action is really, really needed very badly.
Is
and
helpful.
it's very happy
Right.
that President Obama has taken the steps to go ahead and start giving them some benefit. God knows, listen, all we are saying hope, hope, yes, yes, but there's no guarantee. When it's going to happen, it may be a year, maybe it's still more time for them to pass the DREAM Act. So at least for the time being, these students that have gone to high school, they cannot go to college, they don't have a driver license, they don't have a social security number, at least give them a relief to live peacefully. These little children that came under the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, many years ago. And they don't, believe me, David, you know that. They don't even know what does illegal mean. 2 years since they have been going to school, the kindergarten, the high school, and all their friends are citizens. They never thought that they are any different than their US citizen friends.
That's right.
Right, so only this is the right thing to do.
That's right. And I think that many of the members of the House, probably many members of the Senate also agree with the President's steps, again, in the right direction, but also are leaving the door open to the fact that additional steps can and should be taken in order to implement comprehensive immigration reform.
I think this is time that you should tell our viewers once more. We have done things few times, but it's a good idea to give them this information all over again as to who are the people that will qualify under this program. And you know that we are all still waiting for the detailed forms and instructions from the government. In the meantime, you also have some tips about what kind of documentation they should at least start collecting.
That's right. And so basically what it is for those individuals who think that they may qualify for the DREAMer provisions, we have a checklist that we're going to provide, and actually what I'm going to do is ask for it to be posted on the screen so you guys can read it. So it's being posted right now on your screen so you can see all of the things that you would need to get together if you're interested in applying for the DREAMer provisions. And if you would like, what we would be more than happy to do is if you send us an email and send it to the email address on your screen, either info@visaserve.com or to David_Nachman@visaserve.com. I'll be more than happy to send you an electronic version of this checklist so that you can start putting the documentation together that the lawyer is going to need to see when you see the lawyer about possibly applying for these DREAMer provisions.
Now, David, I just want to mention that these people that will qualify and file after we have all the instructions. Remember, in the interim, this rule is what is it called, rule or a memorandum policy is effective June 15th when it was announced. As a matter of fact, ICE has already started looking into this for some people. Let me explain. People that are in deportation proceedings, removal proceedings, for example, and they do qualify under this policy, they can contact through their lawyers or whatever the ICE people, and ICE people will help them in either stopping the case, terminating, or putting on hold and getting them the deferred status. That's already done. We have seen few cases in which they have already granted to those people that were in that situation.
That's
or
right.
even those people who were ordered voluntary departure, deported on a voluntary departure, and that date has not expired. They are still willing to intervene in that and try to get the relief to those students.
That's right.
So if you are in that position, you can go ahead. You don't have to wait for any instructions or anything further.
That's right.
I mean, through a good counsel.
Speak to your legal counsel, whoever's handling your case, and make sure that they're taking any and all appropriate steps to ensure that you can take advantage of these discretionary provisions.
Exactly. One thing that people have been asking, and based upon these decisions that I have seen coming through the ICE, on the travel issue, their position still is that these people cannot travel.
Well, the position actually is that they don't know. This
time the policy-wise they don't know.
Right.
But in those cases where they've gone to ICE, because ICE is
still I see. I got you.
Know. Okay. Because ICE even doesn't know what the policy may change.
That's correct.
So as of today, they are warning them. Okay, we are giving you this status.
Right.
Stopping your deportation, but please don't travel.
Right.
If you travel, then we don't know. You may not be able to come back. So right now, if you are in that position, hold on to that travel part until the decision is made.
Right.
We are hoping that the government may permit the travel, but we have to see. Until that happens, don't make plans, buy airline tickets and book the reservations and everything.
Exactly. Right? And actually, Michael and I are on a national listserv where we're getting cutting-edge information about the Dreamer provisions and how they're shaking out.
Exactly.
And there was actually a stakeholders meeting that was held recently in San Diego, and a lot of really good information came out about that. And we'd like to share some of those pieces of information with you. By way of statistics, it's anticipated that there are going to be about 1.4 million people that will be applying nationwide for the Dreamer provisions.
Great,
exactly.
yeah.
Apparently, the applications are likely to be processed by the service centers, and then they're going to be forwarded to the district offices for interviews. So that's the way they're going to be handling it. CIS has reported that there are going to be 400 new individuals who will be hired by CIS in order to process these applications at the service centers. You will have to do biometrics. So they will be taking biometrics, and there will be a slight fee. There's been a lot of discussion about what forms they're going to be using. Unfortunately, we won't know that, and it won't be until August 14th or August 15th that we know what forms are actually going to be used.
Actually, some viewers are also calling how much would it cost, about the fees and all that.
Right, and very difficult.
People, listen,
very difficult.
No, why I'm saying that, because I have come to know that there are a lot of unethical lawyers, agents, and people who are telling the people, oh, as this fee, that fee, pay the money. They are even collecting the money from clients. I think it's too premature. I wouldn't do that. David wouldn't do that, because we want to see what exactly is required, what kind of forms, how much work is going to take. And once we go over and make sure that this person will qualify, only we will take a case then, and then we give a proper guidance and try to help as many as dreamers that we can. So don't just fall into the traps of some of these unethical people. Stay tuned. It's not a big time. Basically, in June 15, they announced, they said they will give us this information within 60 days. So just a matter of few days, just wait, just hold on until we get everything, and we will come back on this TV station. We'll give you all the information, and we can then go further, and you'll be more than happy. Any of our viewers wants an assistant, you can call David, can call me. We have always a lot of things to talk about, but unfortunately, or fortunately you can say, we have a limit on the time. We are running out of time for today's program, and we promise you that in our next program we'll come back and give you the most latest and important information to you. So please keep watching us every Saturday at 1 p.m. only on TV Asia.